Thank you everyone for coming to the strategy presentation. The strategic plan will be presented by Mr. Paolo Gallo, the CEO, and Antonio Pacioretty, the General Manager.
Everything starts here, with invisible energy that has accompanied our journey for 180 years. It starts from here and reaches you in the blink of an eye. An essential network, thousands of kilometers running beneath our feet that we look after each day. Designing, innovating, intervening before you even realize it. Sustainable, increasingly digital, so that future challenges can be met. But were you aware of this journey? It doesn't matter. It means we've done our job properly.
Good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to this Capital Market Day. And we are very happy to be back in London. Some of you probably remember when we were in London, it was October 16 when we started the demerging from Snam, and now after nearly 3 years we are back here in London to present our new strategic plan. It's going to be a long presentation, so I'm warning you. Hopefully it will be very interesting for you. So I'm trying to be as much as possible short, to leave you any question you may have after the conclusion of the presentation. Okay, I will move short. So I am going to walk you through scenario, so the role and the challenges that the gas distributor will have in the years to come. And then I will explain our strategy with the main focus on innovation and digital transformation of the company. And then Antonio will provide to you some numbers and some guidance for 2019 and for 2021 and 25. And then we will conclude with the shareholder remuneration, and then we will open the Q&A for you who are here and for anyone that is in a connection in telephone call. Let me start with the scenario. Our sector is currently dominated by two key drivers. One is the environmental policy and the other one is innovation. We have tried in this chart to describe which are the challenges and the role that the gas distributor may play in front of these two key drivers. We feel that with the existing transportation and gas distribution network, we can play a significant role in this scenario, in a sense that our existing network, not only our, but of course all the distributor and all the transportation, may avoid huge investment in other infrastructure, thanks to the flexibility and to the extensive kilometers, the extensive length of the gas distribution. Regarding the environmental policy that we are talking about, we think that natural gas through biomethane or through power to gas can play a significant role in we are going to see in the decarbonization of the sector. And not only the problem of the pollution that affect our cities, according to us, will push toward the mobility solutions that are available now that have a very low pollutant impact. Let me get you in more details in the decarbonization picture. We feel that the natural gas will play a significant role in the decarbonization for three main reasons. The first one is that if the European Union countries should achieve the target of reducing by 80% the greenhouse gases emission, there is no doubt that the coal production, the power generation by coal, should be phased out. In Italy, but also in all the European Union. And the only way to replace such power generation is by combined cycle in natural gas. That's the first element. The second element is we know that the more that we have the renewable, the more we need to think about the storage of the energy. As of today, we have been talking about batteries for the last 15 years, but as of today, we have not found an acceptable solution in terms of size. The only storage that we know is the hydroelectric pumping storage, or power to gas may come into the picture and solving the problem of the storage of energy surplus. The last one is the renewable gas. Waste treatment, we know, especially in Italy, waste treatment is an issue. A solution to the waste treatment is the production of biomethane. Let me get more into details and see why there is the infrastructure of gas can play a significant role in this transition. They exist. They have been proven to be reliable in the last 50 years. Most of the operators are investing to upgrade them and to make them more advanced. The fact they are so extensive, think about Italy, 92% of the households are reached by the gas distribution. That means that it's easy to integrate them into renewable. And then, again, they exist. So they may avoid huge investment in other infrastructure. Let me talk about biomethane. When you talk about waste treatment, you talk about wet waste, you talk about organic waste, you talk about mowing, then you think about biomethane. The production of biomethane activates the circular economy, in the meantime solving the waste problem. According to several studies, it will represent at the European Union an incredible source of production of biogas. Some studies expect that by 2030 in the European Union there will be a production of around 120 billion cubic meters of biogas. Some other studies estimate the production in Italy around 8 billion cubic meters. Probably a very high target, but still it represents a huge number in comparison to the existing, to the current demand of natural gas. Let's have a look in Italy. What does it mean biomethane? And why today we are talking about biomethane, we didn't consider biomethane, let's say, 5 to 10 years ago. The anaerobic plant digestion, it's a technology that existed since many years. So why it was not considered to produce biomethane? For two main reasons. There has been a lack of regulation regarding the technical composition of biomethanes, and even more important, there was a lack of price indication. In other terms, if one operator wanted to build an anaerobic plant digestion and producing biogas, he should take care also to put nearby that plant also a small power plant. Small power plant mean additional capex, mean additional activity in terms of operation and maintenance, and the overall package was not economic sustainable. Recently the situation has changed in Italy. The composition of biomethane has been defined and there is a clear price indication. And that's the reason why we have received, we Italgas and Snam, we have received several requests for connection. You see on this picture, which are the current connected plant that deliver biomethane into the gas or distribution network. We think that 60% in the future, 60% of new plant producing biomethane will be attached to the transportation grid and the remaining to the distribution grid. And our estimation is that by 2022, there will be a production of 500,000 cubic meter of biomethane. Biomethane can be used not only into the gas distribution, but can be a useful utilization in the mobility. Think about vehicles, think about truck, think about ship. For example, on the vehicle side, take a medium-sized vehicle. There will be for the family, there will be a saving of around more than 700 euro per year because of the cost of natural gas. If you think about truck, there is no alternative except the current technology. There is no alternative about the use of the LNG. And in fact, Snam, for example, is thinking about developing an LNG network in order to supply the truck. And similarly, there are construction of coastal storage of LNG, for example, in Sardinia, with the main objective to supply LNG to the ship. Ship running on the LNG are already in operation, some of them, more are already in construction. That doesn't mean reducing the amount of pollution. That means reducing the cost of the operation of all vehicles, truck, and ship. For example, on the study, if somebody decides to change the truck from a diesel to LNG fuel, the cost of the change, the investment, the relevant investment, will be repaid in 3 years. And now let's talk a little bit about the power to gas. As I said before, there is no alternative today on the hydroelectric pumping station, the way to store the electricity. The more that we will have renewable, the more the problem to store electricity will increase. Batteries have been proven not to be the right response because of the size. Power to gas is the way to transform the surplus of electricity into hydrogen and then to gas, using also recombining the CO2 that has been captured by industrial emissions. Or you can use hydrogen by itself. But there is no doubt that that today is the technology that can give a clear response to the storage. That is the reason why we are following very closely this technology. We are studying the economics. We will keep you updated about the evolution. We are studying the pilot. We are going to visit the pilot project that are currently ongoing in Northern Europe, because according to us, that is a very effective response to the need of storage, but has to be coupled with the availability of the transportation network or the distribution network. And then finally, what will impact the sector is the innovation. We feel that the innovation will transform our sector, and in a not very long time, in 4 or 5 years, we will have two categories of the companies. The companies who are, in our sector, who are companies of frontier, who are the leader, the champions, and of course the follower. We, Italgas, are currently the leader because of the history and of the size, but we want to become a company of frontier, and we will do it with the deployment of a full digitization program. at the end of this journey, that is not going to be easy, we will have a huge advantage, a huge competitive advantage with positive regulatory effect. Our network will be the most advanced network in terms of technology, even in comparison with the electricity distributor. And finally, just to give you an outlook about how we see the natural gas demand in Italy, we have grouped all the different scenarios. We have one scenario, that is the ICE scenario, that foresee a slightly increase, a moderate increase of the demand in the years to come, due to the fact that we will see a coal generation phase out by 2025. If it's going to happen, there is no other alternative than the use of natural gas. The low scenario has as assumption a number of very aggressive targets, such as more renewable availability in the market, energy efficiency on the household, and so forth. It's important to put very aggressive targets, but we feel that is not maybe so achievable, not in the period that we are considering. That's the reason why we feel that the natural gas will play a key role in Italy, but not only in Italy, in Europe, in this transition toward renewable. I want to underline finally that in all scenarios, the demand regarding residential and commercial is stable, has been stable in the last few years and will continue to be stable in the next years. Let's take a look to the distribution sector in Italy. You know already those charts. You know where Italy is positioned with the highest percentage of penetration at the household, with the largest distribution grid in Europe. And Italgas is by far the leader, no matter if you are looking from, and you consider that from redelivery point, or from gas or volume distributor, or by network, or by value of the RAB, value of the asset. Now, what we expect from this sector, the situation is much more the same that we presented last year and the years before. The number of operators is still very large, very fragmented, even though we have started the consolidation process. You can see that the very large operator that represent 3% of the total operators, so we are talking about 6 operators, they deliver 63% of the gas, while very small and small, that they represent 77% in terms of numbers, they deliver 11% of the gas. So we expect that with the tender, and we said that many times, we will have a consolidation that will benefit the sector itself, more efficient operator, more investment, upgrade of existing network. But we need to wait the tenders to come. And unfortunately, our view is a view, and we wanted to show you what was our view back in 2016, in October, when we were here, back in 2017, and back last year. Unfortunately, all our views have been shifted toward the future. So I cannot say that is optimistic or pessimistic. This view is probably much more realistic. We have taken into consideration all the delay, and we have therefore established a new calendar that is not the official calendar, of course, a new calendar for Italgas for the tenders. And we have also put together some names. So on the left side you see the awarded tenders, only 2. We should have another 2 tenders to be awarded before the end of the year, but they are small items. We think that for another 4 items there will be an offer presentation before the end of 2018, and we have a more longer list in 2020. We have put also nearby each of the items the percentage of market share that Italgas has, so you can very easily, based on our strategy, understand which are the items that represent an interest for us and which are not. And finally, to close out with the scenario, I'm going to talk about the regulatory framework. You know very well how it is considered our regulator. As the regulator has demonstrated in more than 20 years to provide a stable, consistent, reliable regulation. The latest demonstration was last year, where they had to redetermine the WACC, and everybody were discussing about regulator being pushed to certain, let me say, between brackets, political decision. They didn't take any political decision. They just make the calculation applying the principle that they have established before, and we end up with a 6.3, 6.8 value for the WACC. I want to share with you some of the principles, I will not use principle, some of the points that came out from the first consultation document. As you know, the sector started a consultation that will end up by the end of the year with the final document that will regulate the sector for the following 6 years. So some elements are already inside the first document for consultation. First of all, RAB methodology has been confirmed, the length of 6 years has been confirmed. We have seen some element that will probably push the sector to consolidate, and as to me as correct, the regulator will try to increase the system efficiency. Let's get into more details. That's the reason why we show to you some points and our position about it. They are related to WACC, OPEX and CAPEX. On the WACC side, there is let me say an idea of the regulator to align the unlevered beta of the metering with the unlevered beta of the network. We feel that in the medium term this is correct. We feel that is not correct now, because the unlevered beta, as you know, represent the technology risk associated with the investment. And as of today, meters have not the same technology risk. They have a higher risk in respect to the pipes. So we support the idea that on the medium term the two unlevered beta should be aligned, but there should be a process of convergence that should not happen soon. The second element is the gearing. We know that the authority, the regulator, would like to move the gearing to a 50-50 situation. We don't feel particularly excited about that. We feel that the small and the medium operator will have probably the most, they would have probably the higher problems, because they may not be able to structure their financing in the size of being 50-50. So from one side, if they move the gearing, there will be a reduction in the WACC, not very significant. From the other side, there may be a push for a further consolidation. Regarding the OPEX, there is an effort of the authority to increase the efficiency of the system, and that is fully correct. It is in line with our expectation. You know very well that Italgas is the most efficient operator in comparison to the other, and moreover, in the last couple of years, we have demonstrated our ability to reduce the cost, and to reduce the cost in a larger size in respect to the objective given by the authority. More system efficiency means push toward the consolidation. So that's a nice news to know. And in fact, also, the idea of the authority to reduce the gap, do you remember that we have a matrix 3 per 3, where you have to pick up, depending on the size of the company and the density of the population, which is the euro per redelivery point recognized. They want to close the gap between the lowest number and the highest number. That for us, being already on the lowest part of the matrix, that's nice, because of course there will be another push toward consolidation. On the CapEx side, they are talking about introducing standard in the CapEx, and we are absolutely in favor of that. We have demonstrated in the smart meter that our economy of scale can create an advantage for Italgas in introducing standard for CapEx. They are talking about RAB subsidies release. We know that is going to happen. We knew already. Everybody, they have in their own RAB a portion of subsidies that are, we call, frozen. We feel that, and we think that a good idea would be to release them during the period of the first concession period, the first 12 years after the tender is awarded. And then a very good news. We started back, I remember, I started back in November 16, telling the authority that the replacement of the meters have determined a loss of depreciation not recognized by the authority, because some of the meters in the past, they moved the regulatory life from 25 years to 20 years to 15 years. In that change, pieces of depreciation were lost, and we started telling the authority, you cannot forget that amount because we pay for it. So we invested that amount. In a normal balance sheet, when you reduce the life of your asset, you normally recover the depreciation that you have not done in the previous years. So it was against everything, let me say. So finally, and I'm glad to say that the regulatory has recognized this element, and so we expect to be recognized by the loss of the depreciation, the portion of the depreciation that was not recognized when the life of the meters changed in the past. And finally, they have put some support in order to give incentive to the company that are merging between themselves, and that will help the sector to consolidate. Now, after having spent this half an hour in giving you the picture and the scenario, now I'm moving into the strategy. So I'm moving to the core of the presentation, and I'm starting from the sustainability. You know this chart because it's the same chart that we have presented last year. We will spend then a little bit more time talking about the result already achieved, but I want to recall to everybody that sustainability is the environment, for Italgas, is the environment where our business plan fits in. For us, it's extremely important to look at these 5 pillars because they represent our goals in the future years, and they are embedded in our industrial plan. So, for example, just to give you an example, putting people first. I will show you the effort that we have spent in the last 2 years in order to reduce, for example, the rate of injuries for our personnel, but also for the personnel of our supplier. Strong local presence. We feel that we can deliver value to our local community, as well as we feel that the local community can deliver value to us. The same for the markets and final customer. I will show you that some of the new activity that we have launched, for example, in the digital factory, they have the primary aim is to provide more value for the final customer. And finally, the energy efficiency that I will talk in a few moments. So let me take a look at the result already achieved. I don't want to get into each single action, but to show you that in 2 years we have done a huge effort to meet the goals that we set regarding the sustainability. So on the commitment to sustainability, we developed 10 actions, 60% have been already achieved. Putting people first. If you go back and look at the, for example, of the rate of the injuries, starting from 2016, every year we were able to reduce all the indexes, even if you consider only our personnel, or you consider also our personnel and the personnel of our supplier. And that has been thanks to the huge effort that all the organization has put in order to give priority to the safety of our personnel. Training. Now we are going to face another big challenge, the digital transformation. So we have to consider our people, we have to consider to give to our people all the tools and the technology that they needed to face the digital transformation. Moving forward, I'm very pleased to say that last year and this year we have donated more than 1,500 personal computers to the schools that are located in the area that had the earthquake. And that is not only the value of the 1,500 personal computers, it's the fact that we had to clean them, we have to install open application, we have to bring them to the school, we have to make them working in the school. That's the value that we can deliver to the local community. As well as we were able to improve the relationship of the commercial companies. Lorenzo Dell'Orco, that is sitting here, has done several meetings with the commercial companies in order to coordinate and to make the communication between ourselves and the commercial company more easy and more in the favor of the final customer. And finally, the energy efficiency. Let me just mention, we have been complete the transformation of our car fleet. Today, 100% of our car fleet is running of natural gas. And now we are planning for the 2020, 2021, and 2022. There are many things, many actions that has to be implemented. For example, the real estate renovation upgrade. And last but not least, the methanization of the Sardinia island that will contribute to reduction of CO2 emission by 60,000 tons per year. Let me now get into the core of our strategy. Last year we presented the strategic pillar. They are still strategic pillar. They have changed a little bit. The focus is the digitization and the technical innovation, but the investment on our network, the upgrade of our network will continue. We will talk about M&A. We have enlarged our M&A perimeter in respect of last year's plan. And we will talk also about gas tender, how the impact of the gas tender will be on our plan. Let me just give you few numbers. We don't talk about tender. We are just on the investment related to our current perimeter. 4.2 billion. Last year they were 4 billion investment. I would point it out two things. Metering and digitization now, if you sum the two, you are close to 1 billion euro. Where metering, if you take the same number of last year, of course they have decreased. Meterings, we are going to complete the replacement by 2020, so 1 year from now. So of course the amount will continue to reduce. We don't have, once that we will have completed the installation, we will not have more capex or very limited capex devoted to the metering. While we have seen an increase in the digitization number. We have included, last year we were talking about opportunities about our participate, so the company that we do not consolidate. We have included in our plan the consolidation of Toscana Energia. Why? I will explain you later. We feel that it should happen. We don't know yet when, but it should happen. So we wanted to show the result of Italgas Group, also including Toscana Energia, and we have increased the perimeter of the M&A due to the delay in the tenders. Last plan, if you remember, we have set as a goal to acquire 250,000 redelivery points. We have acquired up to now, and I mean we closed all the transactions, so they are already embedded in our numbers, 190,000 redelivery points. So we still have to do 60,000 by the end of 2019. We have added another 100,000 between 2020 and 2021. So at the end of, let me say, of the M&A, instead of 250,000, we will have 350,000. That is our objective, of course. It's not yet done, but that is the objective that we have put into the business plan. Regarding the Sardinia, we have confirmed the 500 million investment, and then there is the centralized asset, more or less, is the same amount of investment that we have forecasted last plan. With those investments, we have a significant increase of our RAB that will increase by a CAGR number of 4.7%. Starting from the end of last year, where our RAB was 6.4 billion, we expect by the end of the plan to reach nearly 9 billion euro. Of course, there is a contribution of Toscana Energia. Toscana Energia is around 900 million. But still, if you take out the Toscana Energia, you can calculate that the CAGR number is significant, is still significant. Let's move in some more details of the number. So let's start from the 2.1 billion in network. It covers, well, first of all, we have completed the replacement of the grey cast iron pipes, the first categories. We will in the plan, we will replace also the second category of gray cast iron pipes, and we will replace also the unprotected steel pipes. What does it mean? It means that the network will be more secure, more safety, it will be more manageable, it will be more modern. We will continue to extend the network where it is needed, based on the plan that we have already established, or based on the requests that are coming from local municipality. We will convert all our LPG network into natural gas. And then let me talk about at least one tender that has been awarded. I'm talking because it confirms the number that we have already said to everybody, to the government, to the authority, to the analyst, to the investor, that with the tender completion there will be a significant amount of investment. And this is the most precious investment for our local economy. In Torino, that Torino 2 was under Italgas by, I think, 95%, and was managed very well, thanks to the plan developed by the municipality. We are going to invest additional 200 million euro. 85% will be done in the first years until 2025, so in the first 7 years. And if you make the sum, and if you make few calculation, these 200 million represent 80 euro per redelivery point per year per 12 years. That is the number that we have already, we always said it was the right number, and you should consider that the network of Torino is managed by us, so we have already invested a lot of money. So if you consider a network that has been managed with very low or zero investment in the last years, then you can easily calculate that the investment per redelivery point may pass the 100 euro. Few words on Sardinia. You know the picture of Sardinia. We are the major player. We have 1/3 of the island in terms of distribution network to be built. But moreover than that, we have all the major cities that are currently managed on the LPG. We will transform them in natural gas. Our ambition is to reach 200,000 households to provide to them, or part to them, the availability of natural gas. We are progressing, so we are not just talking about Sardinia. We are doing the job, and as of the end of May, 160 kilometers have been completed. We have been working only since September, so there is we didn't spend a lot of time, but the 160 kilometers is a clear demonstration then of our ability to of execution in the execution of new network. Now let me talk about the digital transformation. Digital transformation will affect three main areas: the asset, the processes, and the workforce. The idea is that we will change the way that we manage the network. For example, not this year, but probably already next year, we will have what I'm calling more clever allocation of the CapEx. I'm trying to give you an example. Today we are going to replace, for example, the pipes because of the material. We have discussed before replacement of the gray cast iron, or we replace the pipes because the regulatory life has ended. I think that is not a clever allocation of CapEx. The clever allocation of CapEx means I'm going to replace pipes depending on the situation of its pipes. It may happen that a pipes that have 50 years is in a very nice condition, can run for another 10 years, so why should I replace? Maybe another pipe that is in a more environmentally situation, more difficult situation, is better to replace now, avoiding leakage and continuous repair. How we are going to do that? We are going to do that with the big data analysis. We are going to do that with the advanced analytics, and we can do that only if we collect millions of data from the field. So to do that, we need to change our IT infrastructure. We have already made significant steps. All our applications have been moved to cloud. We have started the digital factory that I will give you some example. But we have to continue to change our IT ecosystem. The IT ecosystem should become more flexible, should become more friendly in delivering IT projects. In the moment in which we have moved all our application into cloud, we realize how inefficient was the traditional IT system. So now we are facing, and that is more IT activities, we are facing the revision of our application map in order to become more efficient. In order, for example, to use software as a service, if it is the case, or platform as a service, if it is the case. Why? Because we have already experienced in 2019, in 2018, no, because we move the cloud at the end of the year, but in the first month of 2018, a reduction of the IT cost. But we have seen a huge opportunity to further reduce and be more efficient on the IT cost, because the traditional IT system is by definition inefficient. We are now creating, in order to collect all the data, an IoT platform. We are on cloud, of course. We are creating a data lake on cloud. Those are all instruments that will let us, first of all, collect all the data coming from the field, but more important, to start using the data, using advanced analytics, using big data analysis in order to get all the information and make more clever decisions. In terms of numbers, you have already seen more than 400 million to replace the smart meter, and we are testing, and we just recently started the testing of 5,000 new smart meter, what is called narrowband IoT. Narrowband IoT is smart technology applied to the smart meter. It's a technology that is devoted to the industrial activity that should help improve the communication, should help in improving the communication. So meters that are located in area with difficult communication with this new technology should not have a problem to communicate to the center. And from the other side should also reduce the consumption of battery. You know that the battery have a life that is not so long, so we want to test meters that in theory, and we wanted to test it to demonstrate, will have a longer life. More than 500 million are allocated to the asset digitization. What does it mean? We can show here in the following page. It means that we are going to install, first of all, to replace all the pressure reduction stations that are traditional into digital. And if for the ones, and are around 5,000, that have been already, for which the regulatory life has been completed. For the ones that have still a regulatory life, we will add what we call the add-on, so some mechanism that will transform the existing traditional reduction station pressure into digital ones. The idea, again, collecting all the data, we should move from the traditional maintenance to predictive maintenance. We should be able to allocate the CapEx in a different way, and of course to react on real time in difficult situations. And in fact, a new integrated supervisory center will be online, will be available, will be on live mid-July. That is a very simple representation. What does it mean, a fully digitized network? Let me go and show you the advantage of such network. We can have a network balancing. That means that we can shift supply where it is needed using predictive technology. We can provide all the data to the commercial company in order they can have a profile in terms of consumption. We can decide which are the interventions that has to be taken first because of the off-field situation. We can optimize, or better, guarantee to the final customer the right pressure of the gas. We are installing a sensor at the end of the network to measure the pressure, and therefore, based on the data collection, we will be able to determine the right pressure at the entrance of the grid in order to guarantee to everybody the right pressure. We can optimize the amount of authorization that is injected into the grid. We can move to predictive maintenance. That is the asset. Let's look at the processes. I have already discussed a little bit about the processes. Here is a list of the things that we want to do in 2019 and 2020, introducing new technology. For example, and I will show you in a few moments, the utilization on virtual assistant through specific appliances that are not the lens, the HoloLens, but are slightly different, that will help communicate the technician on the field with the center. We are testing, as I told you, the narrowband IoT. We are testing the mixed reality. As I said, we are testing the fog computing. I mean, all the testing that we are carrying on our system is to provide the support with all the new technology to our personnel and to our network. Let me talk a little bit about the Digital Factory and what we have done up to now. Digital Factory started working in November. They are running on a 4-month period. Each room that has what you can see that has those principles has to deliver a minimum viable product. It's called minimum viable product. I will explain you what it is, a minimum viable product, in 4 months. Which is the difference in respect to the past. In the past, when the operation or the business in general wanted to have an application to fix certain problem, they had to deliver a long specification. It was called blueprint, to deliver the blueprint to the IT system, and then the IT system was taking its time with the vendor supplier to provide a new application. It may happen that after 1 year, 1 year and a half, the new application was available, full of things maybe not needed, maybe missing the critical one. That is not going to happen anymore. That means that inside the room, there are all the participants inside the room. They have their own role. So you have the business, the operation, the regulation, if it is necessary, the IT system, and they exactly design what is necessary. And it should be developed in 4 months. That means that in 4 months a new application should be released and should be working. It may be more simple than expected. That means that the processes may be divided in different releases, but the important thing is that in 4 months a new release should be given. That is extremely important because you immediately test what you have done, and if there is some problem, then in the second release you may adjust it. Think about how many releases we receive, how many updates we receive on our iPhone about the application continuously. That is exactly the same approach. And in fact, we have already released 2 minimum viable products. The first one is related to the scheduling and the planning. The room, what we call the room number 2, has developed a real-time planning of the intervention, of the technical intervention. For example, the replacement of an emitter. What is real-time planning? That means that on a real time there is a continuously replanning of the activity based on the information coming from the field, based on the traffic. Remember that we are moving around the city, based on the meteo, based on the time needed for technical intervention, based on the geolocalization of the technician team. Which is the advantages? It's very clear. I mean, we are more effective in our intervention. On top of that, we have introduced a 4 clicks in terms of the technician need to do only 4 clicks to close the intervention and to provide all the data. And then we have introduced the communication with the final end customer. The final end customer may follow day by day when the intervention is going to happen. If there is a delay, they will be notified. If there is a different intervention, they will be notified. So they may follow the intervention through an app. And then, if you remember, it's part of providing more value to the final customer. Is part of our sustainability plan. And has been released, and now we are in room number, let me say, the second release of this room is already working to improve the application that was already released and to add new features that were not added in the first 4 months. The second room that has already give again a minimum viable product is what is called integrated control room. The people around the table designed all the data they needed to receive from the field in order to have a real real evaluation of what is going to happen on the grid and make the intervention more effective. By July, we will have an integrated control room functioning, where there will be like bigger than that, a huge wall, where all the data coming from the field, they will be represented with different graph, numbers, and KPI, in order to let the people fully understand what's going on the field. Of course, it is only the first step, because once the data will start to arrive, then we need to relaunch the digital factory, one room of the digital factory, in order to elaborate all the data, develop the algorithms that will help us to better understand what we have to do in terms of intervention or in terms of investment. Other 2 rooms have started. One is relevant to the on-site construction. Today we spend a lot of time in supervisory. We spend a lot of time and money in checking the activity. Checking means we want to be sure that the supplier has done the job properly. We can do that, and we are developing through a remote control. And therefore, that will help us reducing the capex cost. In the meantime, it will help us increasing the quality of the work performed by the supplier. Last room, again, very important because it put our people first. We want to create a direct link, online link between the technician operating on the field and the center. There are interventions that may be difficult with those appliances are, let me say, a glass with only one part and is not a full glass. From the center they can see exactly the same scenario, the same image of that the technician on the field is seeing, and therefore they can receive direction how to operate. And so the center can say, you have to intervene in that area, let me see more closely which is the problem that I can help you. That's a way to help the technician to be not only more efficient but more safe in their intervention. And from that intervention we want to take pills that become the way to transfer the knowledge from the most senior guys to the young millennium that they are entering into the company. Now I'm talking a little bit about M&A very quickly. As I said already that we have added 100,000 delivery points. So from now until the end of 2021, our objective is to acquire 160,000 redelivery points for an amount allocated. It's of course an estimation of 200 million euro. We have increased the size of the M&A considering the delay of the tenders. Let me talk about Toscana Energia. Our share today has reached 48.6%. We feel that the consolidation should happen soon because, as you know, some of the shareholders have withdrawn their participation, and by the end of July we will know who's going to use his right to buy those shares, and we have 2% that has been withdrawn, so 2% may become available to us totally or partially. We are 48.6%, so we are very close to 50%. What does it mean in terms of numbers? Those are 2018 numbers. More than 800 million of RAB, more than 100 million euro of EBITDA. I don't tell you which are the advantages to consolidate. Efficiency, we will bring to Toscana Energia our best practice. We will exploit full value from the tenders. And in fact, the tenders, the view of the tenders today includes also Toscana Energia. Few words about Seaside and the energy efficiency. It's part of our plan. Seaside, one of the most innovative energy efficiency company. We have, together with the management of Seaside, we have developed the plan that you see on the top right of the chart. We have 5 directions. Of course, energy efficiency is the core business, but then they have developed in the past years several digital applications. Therefore, we want to integrate the digital capability that they have with our digital transformation. They should help us in all the activity of the group. For example, when we renovate the building, we will use them in order to support for all the paper necessary in order to be as much as efficiently as possible, but also with the solution that they can provide to us. they, of course, we have in the energy efficiency some opportunity. It's a market very fragmented. I think we can play a role in the consolidation also of that market. And let me end it with another development opportunity that is Picarro. We have already presented to you Picarro last year. Now it has become a part of our activities. We have completely abandoned the traditional way of looking for leakage because of the solution that is the most advanced in the world, I would say. There is no other solution more advanced than the one called Picarro. The reason is because you don't have to stay on the pipes to find leakages. You can go around and then you detect the leakage also in the area where maybe are private area or maybe are area that you cannot access with cars. And then also the sensitivity. We move from part per million, I'm talking about CH4 detection, part per million to part per billion. So it's a huge improvement. And now it's available also on bot. So before we couldn't do, or we could do very limited leakage search in Venice, because you cannot run vehicles in Venice, of course. You know that very well. We could only make leakage detection by foot. Now we have equipped also one bot in Venice, and now they are searching, improving the safety of the network also in Venice. I mean, of course, Venice, it's a unique situation. We don't have more than Venice, but to show the capability and the opportunity of that technology. That's the reason why we signed an MOU with Picarro to develop a joint venture, providing third-party operator services and consultancy, using from one side their technology and from the other side our knowledge of the gas distribution. Moving forward on the efficiency, so let's move on the efficiency side. I have started with the personnel, not because we are talking more really about efficiency, but because it's a big challenge. And let me say, there are two main challenges. Last year, we had already foreseen a significant number of people that will retire in the years of the plan. You will see in the center that is the average age of our personnel. This year, with the application of Quota 100, the new regulation introduced by the government, we will see more than that. 1,500 will exit between now and 2025. 1,200 should enter. So it's a huge number. So the main challenge is that there is going to change 1/3 of the company. So the first challenge is that we cannot lose our competence. We should be confident that our competence will remain in the company, and that's one of the reasons why in room 4 of the Digital Factory we are developing instruments for the knowledge sharing. That's one of the main challenges. The second one is the digital transformation. Considering the age of the people, we have, from one side, introducing the new Millennium Technician, and from the other side, giving to the personnel that is in the company all the technologies, all the training, all the support in order that they can use all the tools needed to manage differently the network. In other terms, we cannot afford to leave anyone behind. So the two challenges are competence, to keep competencies inside the company, and the other one is to provide enough training and support to the personnel in order to become, let me say, more digital. And then in terms of operational efficiency. I'm not going through each of them, but I wanted just to show you that any application that we are developing in the digital factory, we try at the beginning to clearly identify the benefits in terms of cost, in terms of additional revenues, in terms of customer satisfaction, in terms of safety, in terms of quality of our services, because we want then to measure, once that the application is released, to measure the result that we have, that we will achieve. And, I mean, that's new for this plan. We have tried, based on the knowledge that we have, to identify the benefit coming from the digitization of the company. Last year, when we were talking about the digital transformation, we said, we know that we have to do it, but we don't know how much it's going to give us in terms of cost efficiency. This year, we have tried to identify, to summarize the benefit. And the total benefit that we have already embedded into the plan is 160 million euro, divided into 3 categories. For 40 million euros, CapEx reduction, 90 million euro OpEx reduction, 30 million euro additional revenues. Additional revenues are mainly incentive and bonus that we are going to receive thanks to the improvement of the service, of the way that we manage the network. So, and the result is amazing. If you look at this chart, you can understand how the impact of the digitalization is on our plan and on the cost. Even though our perimeter is becoming larger and larger, M&A and Sardinia, to make just 2 names, our costs are reducing, are constant or reducing with the same perimeter. So after a reduction of 16% from 16 to 17 and more than 3% from 17 to 18, our cost relevant to the same perimeter are reducing, and the cost will remain constant even though we add new activities like Sardinia. Think about the personnel, think about the cost, and the new M&A. That means that with the same cost, we will have more revenues. So margin will significantly increase. Antonio will give you the numbers. And now, moving to the tenders. It's going to be quick, unfortunately, because there are no many news. Our criteria are always the same. The only news in respect of last year is that we included the evaluation of the tenders also for Toscana Energia that last year were not included. So we consider, and if you compare the same chart with last year, we have five items more in the first cluster and 5 items more in the second cluster. As you know, the first cluster is the cluster where we feel we have a very high probability to win, close to 100%, because we are very strong in those items. In the second cluster, the probability is around 30%, so we have chance to win, not in all of them. In the third cluster, we are not interested to participate. And so, considering also the tender, the redelivery points should grow from the 6.7 million euro in 2018 to 9.7 million, nearly 10 million redelivery point in 2025. Considering that 2018 does not consider Toscana Energia, 2025 does consider Toscana Energia, and of course with the tenders. Tenders, the numbers that you see is higher than last year, is 1.3 billion euro net, because the increase is due by considering also Toscana Energia in the tender picture, with additional capex required, initial additional capex required of 600 million. And RAB will grow, considering everything, at a rate, a very significant rate, 7.1% from 2018, 6.4 billion euro to more than 10 billion euro at the end of the plan period. Now, after this long presentation, I am sorry for that. I hope that you understand why we spend a lot of time. It's because we wanted to pass to you many details, many information that we feel are very important for your understanding of the company. Now I'm leaving the floor to Antonio for the numbers.
Thank you, Paolo, and good afternoon, everyone. Now I propose you to move to the financial strategy of the company, commenting together which is the evolution of our capital structure, the targets of our capital structure and debt structure, and the evolution of our debt together with the cost we expect for the plan. As Paolo has just described, you have understood how the growth is one of the main pillars of our equity story. Growth in terms of capital deployed and in terms of industrial margins, which we believe to extract from the efficiencies program that we have delivered and we want to deliver in the future. In this framework, the financial strategy is a tool which must support, firstly, the capital deployment, defending our risk profile, our financial risk profile, and maintaining the current solidity of our group, together with the efficiency. Efficiency means that we do believe that the company has all the credentials and conditions for maintaining the current efficiency of our balance sheet, and then further boosting the growth of our result in terms of earning per share. Moving to the strategy. I would say that we have three elements. First of all, to be commented. First of all, we can rely on a very strong and resilient cash flow generation. The magic number for us is at least 10% of our RAB is the cash flow, operating cash flow, which we expect to be generating annually. And we do believe that the cash flow generation will be capable for the plan horizon to cover both capex and dividends. Secondly, the limited financing risk, which means, first of all, to reduce and to maintain the current very low refinancing risks. Secondly, to maintain the current limited exposure to interest rates. And lastly, to maintain the safe liquidity profile in the medium term. The last point is that, which is one of the most important part of the plan from a financial point of view, that we believe that all the strategy will be executed maintaining the cost of our debt for all the plan period aligned with the current cost. The left side of the slide is describing the strategy we have. Again, we have an operating cash flow which for the full business plan we expect to be in the range of 5.8 billion euros, capable to cover capex and dividends. We have an estimation of disbursement for our capex around 4 billion, so 1.8 billion euros is the free cash flow we expect for the full business plan, so capable to cover dividends and M&A without increasing our debt. The right side of the slide is a demonstration of what we have delivered in the last 2 years. So after the spin-off from Snam, what we have done in terms of financial discipline. First of all, we have obtained a cash flow generation of 1.3 billion. Those are the numbers for the 2 years, which is something around 11% per year of our RAB. We have delivered capex and M&A capital deployment in the range of 1.1 billion, capable to pay our 300 million euros of dividends fiscal year 18 and 17, and at the same time maintaining under control the evolution of our debt. The result is, first of all, the leverage, which has been maintained below 50%, coming from the 61% after the spin-off, and the dividend per share that we have increased with the fiscal year 2018, so paid last May, with an increase of 12.5%. So the message is financial flexibility, all for the service of the opportunity of the tenders and also for enhancing shareholders' remuneration. This is the situation of our debt. This should be. This is the situation of our debt today. It is the situation at the end of March this year. This is the situation of our debt today, and it is the platform of our strategy tomorrow. We are so proud to define our debt structure a superior combination of solidity and efficiency. What does it mean? Solidity. 100% of our debt is at medium and long term. On top of that, we can rely on 1.1 billion of revolving credit facility not used, so an additional liquidity buffer. The first refinancing exercise is expected in 2022. In terms of cost, in terms of fixed rate, almost 90% of our debt is at fixed rate. So we have invested largely in tenor, in fixed rate. The cost is 1.2%. Fixed rate is not 1 year duration of fixed rate. Fixed rate is 6 years duration. So you can compare the cost of this package with the solidity of this package. It is important, the other message that I want to pass to you is the fact that we do not have any constraints relying on this debt structure. So the future is a possibility. So we can rely on the flexibility we do have for capturing all the advantage that the current market condition present. The important thing is to manage our liabilities proactively. We do have a lot of possibilities there. What we expect, what we program for the future. First of all, we want to continue to invest in tenor. We have assumed in our plan period capital market exercise for tenor between 5 and 10 years. We want, and again, also we maintain also the relationship with the international lenders, which is the European Bank, Investment Bank. We want to maintain an important part of fixed rate. I would say that today we have the almost 90% we have commented before. We intend to maintain such a level at least as long as the current low interest rate continues. Anyway, the landing point is 2/3 fixed, 1/3 floating, which we have already commented several times. But today we are in the position to leverage on the low interest scenario, and for the next few years we intend to maintain such 80-90% of fixed rate. Adequate committed medium long-term credit facility. What does it mean? It means that we don't rely on liquidity. As you know, we manage our cash flow, we manage our cash flow management, let me say, in terms with our facilities. We do not have any negative impact on that. We want to shape, we want to design the credit facility in line with the necessity we have, so extracting further efficiency. Once you have an adequate parachute in terms of refinancing risk, you can play with the system and extract the advantage that the current liquidity of the financial system present. Again, the current cost of debt is a reference for the entire plan period, even if we want to maintain such a solidity. Talking about capital structure, those are the two main metrics which are used by the rating agencies: leverage to RAB, debt to RAB, and FFO to net debt. It is immediate that we will maintain both the metrics well inside the threshold set by the rating agencies, no less than 15% of cash flow generation to net debt, and a leverage to RAB which will be in the range of 60%, something less than 60% at the end of the period. Which is the message of this slide? The message is that the solidity is guaranteed, but also the fact that the possibility to extract value on the growth is so present when you can support all the capital deployment with your own balance sheet. And so when you invest in regulated assets at 6% and you can finance the growth with your balance sheet, it is clear that your possibility to boost the return on equity and to boost the earning per share is great. The other message is that the cost of maintaining such a flexibility and such opportunities can be compared with the cost allowed, the recognized cost of the authority, comparing the leverage. The leverage we have in the plan period is around 60%. As Paolo has just described, the leverage discussed by the authority is today is allowed is 44%, and the discussion is how to move such a leverage to the 50-50 position that could be the regime one. Some guidance for the future. We have chosen the guidance for this year and the outlook for 21 and 25, representing the first one, the last year of the current WACC, 19, 20, 21, you know, are the 3 years with the current WACC. So we believe that it could be an important reference for you. 2025 is the last year of the plan, and we have assumed in 2025 the end of the tenders. So we can assume the full impact, financial and economic impact of the tenders. For this year, we expect a level of revenues in the range of 1.2 billion. It is important to underline that the contribution of the money which we receive in terms for the substitution of the old meters with the new ones, with the smart ones, will be limited now due to the fact that we are completing such a program. Limited, what does it mean? Around 20 million. The EBITDA is expected in the range of 840 and 860 million, 61% of revenues. It is something that is better than the performance we have in the past, and if you look at the future, we expect such a margin will increase to 75% at the end of the plan. In terms of EBIT, we expect something in the range of 460 and 480, which today represent around 7.3% of our RAB. So it is the proxy, I would say the most significant proxy of the return on our asset in terms of value recognized by the authority, and we expect such a return to increase to 8% in 2021 and in the range of 8 to 8.5% at the end of the period. I would say those are numbers with the tenders clearly. I would say that at the end in the year 2025 we can expect something close to 8.5 in case of no tenders, something close to 8% in case of tenders. You know that tenders mean the possibility to increase the capital allocation, the capital deployment, but also an environment, a scenario in which some costs, for example, fees for the concession will be higher. CapEx, 700 million euros for this year. Those are organic CapEx. The RAB is expected at the end of this year in the range of the amount of 6.7 billion. This is the RAB that we have disclosed for the calculation of the revenues of the following year, including also the work in progress. The work in progress is was not a significant number in our business model, but with the investment for Sardinia, it is important to be underlined. So we expect something around 100 million euros at the end of this year in terms of work in progress. The leverage, 59%, and we expect to maintain this leverage for the full year. The cash flow generation is the 10% I have just commented before. So now I would leave you with Paolo for the final remarks and the shareholder remuneration.
Okay. Just one element to add to you. 2021 is not only the last year of the WOC, but is also the last year with no tenders, let me say. So we wanted to show you what is going to look like Italgas just at the beginning of the tender. So there are some tenders already in it, and what it looks like after the tender process. So that's the other element of putting 2021 as a guidance. Starting from this point, and I'm moving to the shareholder remuneration, the shareholder policy. In Italy, we say no news, good news. There is no news on the shareholder remuneration policy. We kept the same that we have announced last year, because we feel that the 60% payout will prevail over the floor that we have given. In other terms, we feel that our earning per share will grow more than 4% per year. So there's no doubt about it. So we feel that we are going to deliver value to the shareholders. So we didn't feel the need to change, and I think it's not, we didn't feel to change the policy, because the policy is already providing, like we have demonstrated. So it's not just a promise. We have already a demonstration in 2018, the dividend per share increase in respect of the previous year by 12.5%. And we feel that we will continue to use the 60% payout instead of the other formula. I think I don't want to add any more. We have already kept you for more than 1 hour and a half. So we want to hear from you the reaction of the numbers, the idea, the transformation that we are bringing in Italgas, and of course we are available to respond to any questions you may have. The person here present in the room, but also the person that are on the call. Thank you.
So now let's start with the floor, and then we will take the Q&A from the conference call. Start with Stefano Gamberini.
Good afternoon, Stefano Gamberini from Equita SIM. The first question regarding the CapEx. You underlined that after the tender, probably the investment will be in the region of more than 100 euro per redelivery points. Consider the 21 million redelivery points in Italy. We are speaking about more than 2 billion euros of CapEx per year versus the around 600 for the sector currently. So just if you can help us to understand this scenario, what are the risks that you see in this scenario? What are the also approach of the regulator regarding such a strong increase of CapEx due to the tenders, but also even excluding them, if I'm not wrong, you will more or less increase your investments already to those levels. So just what is the risk on this point regarding the environment of such strong acceleration on CapEx? The second question regarding the 2021 targets, just considering the 73% EBITDA margins means that the EBITDA should be already at 1.1 billion euros in 2021 from the 830 probably, excluding the digital meters that you recovered in 2019. So in 2 years, this jump. Could you give us the blocks that push the EBITDA in such a way? And the last one from my side is regarding the efficiency. You will reduce costs by 95 million euros thanks to the digitalization of the networks. In 1 year ago, you stressed that the reduction was in the region of 2% per year of costs. So just to understand when we should expect the main reduction of costs in the forthcoming years, and if the targets that you spent regarding the flat base cost, including M&A, does it include also Toscana Energia or not? Many thanks.
Regarding the first question, I have a higher number if all the tenders will be awarded. Our numbers was in the range of 3 billion per year, and the other number depends that and probably is consistent with your 2 billion, because normally you normally do the major part of the investment in the previous years in the first years of the 12 years concession. That of course is going to happen only if all the tenders in the same time are awarded. So that's an estimation that it is correct yours. Probably you just made the investment flat, but it may eventually be different depending year by year. Consider that, and you have seen in the numbers that the entire sector RAB is 20 billion. Let's take as a 20 billion because it makes all the numbers more easily. 2 billions mean 10%. So from a system point of view, it's fully sustainable, because then we can have probably we can expect probably other efficiency coming from the operation. So I don't see any particular issue about such huge investment. I don't know why you are referring to 700 million per year, because 700 million is our investment, so I can imagine that the others will add something more. So I think that we are not the only one that are investing. So are you 700 is our investment. Is our investment per year. In 2019 we are going to invest 700 million. So the system will invest more, I can imagine, because there is 2 Rete Gas, there is A2A, there is ERA, so they are investing on the grid. But going back to your points, if you make the right calculation, 2 billion per year, it's fully sustainable by the system. They represent 10% of the total RAB, and so you can make your calculation. That is, there should not be a problem about the sustainability of such huge investment. Regarding the EBITDA in 2021, I think you make the correct calculation. It was easy. There are, let me say, at least 3 explanations. The first one is Toscana Energia. We expect by 2021 to have consolidated Toscana Energia. Toscana Energia represent more than 100 million euro in EBITDA. So at least half of that we can explain through, whatever it is. The second element is the RAB increase. RAB increase and the new M&A. As we told you, the new M&A, so the 160,000 redelivery point, the under 60,000 redelivery point should be completed by 2021. So in 2021 we'll see probably at least 110,000 redelivery point new as the M&A. Sardinia will play another role. So I'm putting together all this block. So M&A, RAB growth, in particular Sardinia, and they, of course, they will increase the revenues. And then from the other side, we will see cost efficiency again creating an additional revenues. Regarding maybe the exact blocks in terms of size, we can refer maybe later to with the investor relation. We will give you the exact number. Last question regarding cost. When I said we will continue to reduce the cost, means that we will continue to be around 3% per year if we consider the same perimeter. When I said the effect is that even if we add other M&A and the old Sardinia, our base cost, revised base cost, of course, by this addition, will not grow. That means that the reduction are compensated by the additional activities. The cost in 2022 includes Toscana Energia. In 2021, sorry, because we were referring to 2021. The cost in 2021 includes Toscana Energia.
So with Toscana Energia, the total cost will be?
No. But to give you the EBIT, I mean the EBIT to refer to the view, the chart that I presented to you, the chart that is back does not include Toscana Energia. We can show you quickly, just to give you, if you go back to if you have your presentation, but here the colors are very clear. you can see that starting from 2018, we have a small Sardinia and M&As appearing on the coast that it becomes bigger and bigger, while the remaining is going down. So Sardinia and M&A are creating the additional cost that compensate the reduction of around 3% per year that we have estimated. This number does not include Toscana Energia, but if you go back to our guidance in 2021, because there is the EBITDA of Toscana Energia, there are also the costs. Okay.
Ruiz?
Jose Ruiz from Macquarie. I have just questions on Toscana Energia. Could you tell us what is the invested capital you need to fully consolidate the company? Where is it included? If you haven't included M&A or in the overall RAB growth, what is going to be the minorities, if any? And then on the increase in the capex of tenders, you moved from 1.1 last year to 1.3. I understand the whole difference, the 200 million euros, is just Toscana Energia. Thank you.
Fai Toscana Energia quanto vuoi.
For Toscana Energia, what we have assumed in our plan, we have assumed taking into account the governance of the company today, we have assumed to overcome the 50%. With the 50% plus one shares, you can control the board. And we have assumed the plan to increase by 2.53% the current stake, which is currently 48.6%. So the investment is between 10 and 15 million euros.
But then we have the minority of 49%.
Minority is 49%.
Regarding the last point, in respect to the 1.1 of last year, you have to reduce by the M&A, the additional M&A that we have included, so in the range of 150 million. So the tender, if you want to do a comparison with last year plan, the tender, the net deployment is going down to a little bit less than 1 billion. The difference between, let's say, 1 billion and 1.3 billion is the Toscana Energia. So Toscana Energia is higher than just the difference between 1.3 and 1.1, because there are the additional M&A included that, of course, will reduce the amount for the tenders.
The other number you could need is the current net financial position of the company, because on one side we have something more than 800 million euros of RAB, 830, and 430 is the net financial position of the company, the most recent one. So in order to calculate the leverage of the group after the consolidation of such a company, you have to exclude from the denominator the equity RAB of Toscana Energia, which so far has been added, and to add on the top within the net financial position and with the RAB the entire values coming from the company.
Hi, James Brand from Deutsche Bank. Thanks for the presentation. I was just, because given that you asked for any thoughts back, I did think it was, the one thing that does come across from the presentation very clearly is how much you care and how focused you are on the digital transformation, and also with the number of slides focusing on that area and the investor trip you organised last year, how passionate you are about that. So it does seem like there's significant changes at the company. I had a few questions on capex, and the first one is that across the Italian regulated networks, all the companies are increasing capex very significantly and have been doing so now for the last 2 years. So just wondering whether there's a bigger context here. Have you had conversations with the Italian government where they've said to you, look, we want to increase inward investment here, where there's scope to do so? If you can identify opportunities, then please go ahead with them. Or is this, maybe this is just that the digital technology is catching, has taken a step forward, and there's opportunities there that all the companies can take advantage of. But if there is some comments you can make on the overarching driver for that, that would be very interesting. Second question is on the potential changes that you signalled and that the regulator signalled earlier this year that could come through from 2021 around using some kind of stranded cost allowances, as you mentioned has been done for metering for your CapEx spend. I was wondering whether there's anything you could tell us about maybe quantifying the opportunity there as you see it. I'm aware of what you've delivered on the metering side, but particularly how much of your CapEx spend do you think could be covered by those stranded cost allowances? Because I presume that that's something that's quite difficult to do for digitisation spend. It's a bit hard to benchmark digitisation spend across different companies. So how much of maybe your 700 million or so CapEx envelope could be captured in those changes? And then thirdly and finally, you mentioned the releasing of the frozen subsidies as something that could be happening. If you could just explain a bit more what that can mean in practice. Thanks.
Okay. First question, on our CapEx plan. The way that we have built our CapEx plan is a way that we collect all the evaluation, all the needed that are coming from our operation, and we identify what we want, what is necessary to be done on our network. Just to give you an idea, our network has 27 years of age, and through the plan, this age will remain the same. So we are not making the network younger nor older. That means that the replacement is going to rebalance the passing of the age. So if I well understood the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, our plan is has been built on a bottom-up basis. And the operation, commercial, and the IT, the digital have been identified which is the right amount. On the digital side, what we are going to do is to replace for example, the station reduction pressure that have been fully depreciated. So in that case, we don't have any stranded asset. We just replacing what was supposed to be replaced in any event, and instead of replacing with the traditional one, we are replacing with the digital ones. Regarding the meters that you mentioned, we can, I don't know if you are referring to the meters, the recover of the depreciation as stranded asset.
I was actually referring to the meters in the context of the cost allowances. So obviously you've mentioned there could be changes for the cost allowances for CapEx in the future, that there could be uniform cost allowances, and if you underspent against those cost allowances, as I understand it, there would be scope for you to retain some of that underspent.
Okay.
And I was alluding to meters because you'd had a similar system in place for meters where you'd underspent significantly the standard cost allowances, and there as well you've got to keep some.
No, I think we know very little. We don't have what we told you is what you can read on the consultation document. There is more a principle, so we don't have the data. The idea that the authority will introduce a standard CapEx, not only to the meters, but also to other components, like pipes, for example, meter of pipes, for us is seen in a very positive way because our history on the meters, there is a clear demonstration. We are able to be below the standard. We don't know if, and I can imagine it's going to happen, there will be a sharing between any saving in respect to the standard. So again, we can be ourselves in a position similar to the one that we are currently now about the meters. But more than that, I have difficult to say. I mean, to quantify is difficult because they have written a principle. The principle has to be confirmed. We still have 2 consultation documents to be published, and then even if its principle is confirmed, they have to transform the principle into something practical. So I can imagine that if they follow the same idea of the metering, we will probably be happy and we will probably share some of the benefit. But then, to be honest, to give you any numbers is difficult. Ce n'era un'altra che mi sono dimenticata? I don't know if I forgot one of the question. The frozen subsidies. Frozen subsidies are the amount of subsidies that have been given in the past to the companies for which they are inside the RAB, and so they create revenues. Because they were frozen, mainly because there are some operator, mostly, small operator, for which the frozen subsidies are most of the RAB. So if the frozen subsidies are released for them, that means that the revenues will be reduced substantially. And that's the reason why they frozen. So they kept it like that. Sooner or later, they will take it out from the RAB. Our view is that should be not a one-shot process, but should be spread over a period of time. And our proposition that we are going to do to the authority is you should reduce the subsidies in a, let's say, a 12 years period. You, for example, after a tender has been awarded, in the following 12 years, you should reduce progressively the amount of frozen subsidies.
So does that represent just a decline in your RAB over time because of that?
It will represent, it will represent a reduction of the value of our RAB, of any one RAB, because every operator, they have their own frozen subsidies. Not only, it's a system situation. It's not only Italgas.
Through in your cash flow.
Beg your pardon?
The RAB declines and you get it coming through in additional cash flows over time, or your RAB just declines?
The RAB just decline.
And how material is that? How
material? 300. Between 300 and 400 million.
Patrick?
Hi, this is Bartek Kubicki, SocGen. 3 maybe issues to discuss. Firstly, you didn't mention anything about the memorandum of understandings you signed with China and with Greece. Maybe you can elaborate on this a little bit, especially on Greece, if it means any potential investments in the country. I know that you know the network in Greece. I don't know, maybe it means any financial profits in the future. Secondly, on Sardinia, you are talking about this methanization gasification program, which seems to be relatively expensive. And on the other hand, also Terna is going to build new interconnectors to Sardinia. So I wonder actually if there is a risk that instead of gasification, the island will be just electrified, and hence all the gasification program will be scrapped. Just a worst case scenario. And thirdly, on your dividend policy, basically you are at the end of the day one of the lowest paying dividend companies from regulated names. So my question would be, what has to happen for the dividend payout to go up? Thank you.
Okay, let me start from the first one. This is true, but I wanted to, if I had to add the Greece and the state grid of China, it will take another 20 minutes of the presentation, so it will be too long. But to give you a short answer, on the Greece side, it's true, is thanks to the knowledge of the network that the Greece operator has asked us as support. So we sign a consultancy agreement. So we are going to provide them a number of services from engineering to the metering side, out about the IT side, to Picarro also. They have immediately asked, can we test your Picarro cars to leak detection? So, I mean, that's the way, that's a recognition of the big steps that we have taken toward a new way of managing the network. If a Greece operator comes to us and say, can you help us to do a number of things, then of course we are more than happy to do it, and it's a recognition of our knowledge. State Grid of China is more higher as the MOU. It envisages the possibility to cooperate, especially when there is a convergence between electricity and gas. I mean, you know, State Grid of China is the largest utility in the world. I was in Beijing when we signed the MOU, and we were talking about smart meters. We are changing, and I think we are doing a great job changing 2 million smart meters or 7 million smart meters. They are talking about 400 million smart meters. So that to give you the idea, the difference in size, we have a very nice relationship, and we will try to cooperate. They know very well the electricity and the electricity distribution, transport and selling. We know a lot about the gas. We are trying to put on the common knowledge, the knowledge that we have in common in order to improve each other's sector. On the Sardinia, I don't see the risk that you have mentioned. The reason is to electrify Sardinia, let me say the connection should arrive either from the continent or from Sicily. I know that it was proposed from Sicily. For better understanding, because I don't see that situation, that risk, consider how long Terna was engaged to double the connection between Calabria and Sicilia. That is a very much shorter distance. So everybody are talking about projects, future projects. We are doing, and we are doing based on the concession that we have. So we are doing because we know what we have to do. So I don't see, I mean, on Sardinia, again, there is no, the way that you put the problem is that there is a competition between energy, or electricity and gas. There is no competition. To me, the natural gas and the electricity, renewable, are the different tools that Italy needed to use all of them if they want to reach the target that the national strategic energy plan is set for 2030, 2050. You cannot just rely on the electricity and just forget the gas, and vice versa. And then do not forget that in Sardinia there's still one coal power plant that, according to the national strategy, should be phased out in 2025. How you can replace? To me, there is only one answer that I have already given to you previously. On the dividend policy, what should happen? As I told you, we feel that our earning per share will grow higher than 4%, significantly higher. So with our dividend policy, our shareholder will enjoy a higher growth than the other peers in the market. And then we always said 60% is to preserve, and we have shown to you the range of investment that we are facing to preserve our ability to grow, to preserve the value of the company. Antonio told you that with the cash flow generated, we are able to cover the capex, so the investment, and pay the dividends and the M&A. And tenders need to increase our debt. So I think it's sustainable, but also a very safe situation for all our shareholders to know that our company can pay dividends, make a huge investment, make some acquisition with staying with the same level of indebtedness. Indebtedness will increase only if and when tenders will come.
Anna Maria?
Hi, good afternoon. Anna Maria Scaglia from Morgan Stanley. I have just a very quick one. If I'm not wrong, I'm estimating that through the plan period you have around 7% CAGR EBITDA and more than 8% CAGR EBIT, looking at slide 61. That implies that with the tender, you basically outpacing the growth between EBIT and RAB of around 1%, more or less on CAGR. Is that applicable also in case of no tender coming through? You would see that as a reasonable scenario? And also in terms of net income, would be reasonable to assume that the net income growth you expect in terms of CAGR is probably above the EBIT? Thank you, or in line with that.
Okay. With no tender, the gap between the growth of EBITDA and EBIT is higher. Slightly higher. So there is no is not the numbers that you told me. There is slightly higher the gap between the two. The reason is mainly driven by, of course, so you can understand, by the depreciation. Regarding the net profit, it's the other. I mean, it's another way to ask the same questions that was asked by just by before. We expect the net profit, of course, after minority, net profit adjusted will grow at a higher percentage than 4%, and it will be in the range between 5 and 7% CAGR per year. I don't know if I responded completely.
Well, if now we do not have any more questions from the floor, we move to the conference call, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will now begin the question-and-answer session. As a reminder, if you wish to ask a question, please press *1 on your telephone and wait for your name to be announced. Please stand by whilst we compile the Q&A queue. This will only take a few moments. If you wish to cancel your request, please press the # key. Once again, please press *1 if you wish to ask a question. And your first question comes from the line of Enrico Bartoli from MainFirst. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for taking my question. I have 3 of them. The first one is if you can give us the contribution that you expect to your EBITDA in 2025 from the gas tender. I guess that the target for EBITDA is 1.35 billion. And if you can give us a hint of, let's say, the ramp-up that you expect from the tender. I guess that probably will be back and loaded, but if you can give some comments on this. Second question is related to Sardinia. The regulator in the consultation document is proposing to have, let's say, a special tariff area there. probably there were some comments from you, Mr. Gallo, on the press that probably some perequazione at the national level would be needed. Do you think that if this is not allowed by the regulator, the 500 million capex would be a risk, and if you are discussing this matter with the regulator? The last one is regarding Toscana Energia. You made a comment that actually you expect that the increase of your stake, about 50%, is going to happen soon. Should we expect this by the end of the year, or is possible more in 2020? Thank you.
As far as the first question is concerned, the contribution we expect at the end of the plan period from the tenders is in the range, in terms of EBITDA, it is in the range of 200 million euros.
Regarding Sardinia, it's correct. In the first documentation paper, they have, and to me is a nice step forward. They have started to think about a regional perequazione, a regional balancing between all the different tariffs. We have started to discuss with them, and of course we are talking about more general, a fair treatment toward the Italian citizens that are living in Sardinia in respect to the other ones that are not living in Sardinia. So we told the regulator, but we are not the only one, that the Italian citizens that are living in Sardinia should be treated the same as all the others. When I'm saying should be treated the same as all the others, means that there should be a balancing in the tariff that makes the tariff relevant to the distribution component equal to the all citizen that are living in north of Italy, center of Italy, or in Sicily. I think that message has been given very strong to them, and I think we are not the only one. For example, Confindustria Sardinia has declared the same stuff. The local government, the regional government, the same, and that is not because in favor of Italgas or in favor of somebody else. That is in the favor of the citizen. So it is to make the final customer, the citizen in Sardinia, at the same level of the citizens that are living, for example, in Naples, in Rome, or in Sicily. There should be no difference. And that is also written in all the legislation that have been released many years ago when the legislation designed the gas market. Regarding ourselves, it's a different matter, nothing to do. I mean, if they do the regional level, that's fine. But then the Sardinian citizen, the citizen living in Sardinia, will not have the same tariff as the other Italian citizen. So that's my point. Regarding Toscana Energia, we will be able to give you more detailed answer at the end of July, because end of July is the expiring period for all the shareholders of Toscana Energia to decide if they want to exercise their option to buy the shares coming from the withdrawing party, so the famous 2%. Based on the result of that exercise, we will know if we will consolidate Toscana Energia very soon, or it will take a little bit more time to arrive to the famous 51 plus 1 share. Sorry, 50% plus 1 share. So when we will present to you the results of the first semester, you may ask, remember to ask this question. We will probably be able to answer to you more precisely and give you the time frame.
Thank you. Your next question comes from the line of Javier Suarez from Mediobanca. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for taking my questions as well. The first one is on the timing that you are not now considering for the new gas tenders. Looking at the slide number 19, it looks like that the awarding of those tenders should happen in 2022 and 2023. So the question for you is, you can give us the number of capex, the breakdown of capex per year that you are assuming in your latest model or your latest business plan. So that number of 1.9 billion euros of capex that you have been sharing with us, which is the actual breakdown per year. That is the first question. The second question is on the slide number 40, 49, and 50. Is on the OPEX contention. So I'm reading this correctly. The question is the OPEX by end 2018 is 339 million euros. So what the company is saying that the company is able to reduce that OPEX in 90 million euros by the end of the period. That basically means a reduction per year in that number, something that goes between, 12, 13 million euros. Is that the correct reading of these two slides? And a question to that, looking at your numbers and your target for 2025, the OPEX of the company, post all tenders and acquisition of Toscana Energia, should increase to something like 450 million euros. Is that something the number that you have on your business plan? So that is the second question. And then the third question is on the targets and the guidance for 2021 and 2025 in slide number 61. So it's a follow-up on Enrico's question. So can you share with us the contributions of tenders to the target in 2021? I think that you mentioned 200 million euros in 2025. So what is that number in 2021? And also you can share with us the contribution in 2021 and 2025 from Toscana Energia. That should be 100 million euros now, but is that number expected to increase significantly or not? Many thanks.
I will probably ask you to repeat one part of the second question, but when I will get there, I will ask you to do it. To be very honest, I don't have in mind the breakdown of the 1.9 billion euro of capex per year. It will be the most significant year because I remember it will be in 2023. I'm talking about acquisition, that is not capex. I'm talking about acquisition of tenders, winning the tenders and therefore acquisition of new concession. Let me say that 1/3 is concentrated. One third is concentrated in 2023. And then another 25% is on 2024, and then the remaining is split between 2022 and 2025. We have a little bit in 2021, but very limited. In fact, the contribution, and I'm going to the last question because it is linked, the contribution in 2021 of the tenders in terms of EBITDA is 20 million. So remember that I told you that we pick up 2021 being the last year where we don't have any tenders or very limited. So the EBITDA contribution of tenders in 2021 is 20 million. So very limited number. So I responded to you in guidance. The contribution of Toscana Energia
is at the beginning of the plan is around, in terms of EBITDA, 100 million euros, and we expect something between 125-30 million euros at the end of the period.
There is the second question that I got. The first part, that is the OPEX. We identify 90 million saving cumulated over the plan period. So you should divide it by, if you make it just flat, you divide it by 7 years. So it becomes a little bit more than 10 million, 12 million saving per year. that is the if you want to just make it flat. So the 90 million euro that we show to you as the effect of digitization is 90 million over the plan period. And it is IT saving cost, operational cost, maintenance cost, penalties that are going to be reduced, penalties that the authority applied to us, for example, if we are not responding on time, or for example, if we when we don't find the leakage and so forth. So it's all cost, and our estimation is that the overall saving over the plan, the overall amount will be in the range of 90 million euro. Then I lost your the second part of the second question. If you can repeat.
Yeah, no. The question is that is the OPEX of the company, including M&A, including Sardinia, including everything, with the exception of the tenders. So the question was along the lines of, you can share with us by 2025, by the end of your plan period, which can be the OPEX that the company may have, the total OPEX that a number you feel comfortable with, and if a number of 450 million euros, is that something you have in mind? And a correlated question to that is that obviously that implies that efficiency, that the EBIT versus RAB suffer quite a material expansion from 7% to 8.5%. So the question is if you are considering any regulatory clawback as a consequence of this efficiency improvement.
Responding, starting from the end, and then I will go back. I can tell you that we don't know yet. I mean, we have seen in the first documentation the fact that they are trying to improve the system efficiency. So I don't have yet I would not talk about clawback. I don't think that the authority will go back to the old rules or very traditional one. They will probably prefer to stay and maybe increase the X factor or maybe change the baseline. We don't know yet. It's really too early to say. They have said they want to increase the system efficiency. So what does it mean, and how it will be translated? We don't know. We don't know yet. Regarding the cost, the overall cost that you have mentioned, as we have shown you into the chart, considering the M&A, considering Sardinia, not considering Toscana, and then I will give you, not considering Toscana, the cost will remain stable. So that means that the reduction with the same perimeter will be offset by the additional activity, mainly M&A and Sardinia, that will enter into our plan. If we want to have just a view of the overall cost, including Toscana, so that will include Toscana, it will be in the range of 380 million euro in 2025.
Okay, many thanks.
Thank you. And your next question comes from the line of Emanuele Oggioni from Banca Akros. Please ask your question. Your line is open.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for taking my questions. I have two. The first one is back on the updated tender calendar. It seems you don't rely much on the potential government measures to simplify the concession rules for the gas tenders, which are still pending. So there is any update on the national agency in order to help the municipalities to speed up the gas tender process? And this is the first question. The second one is on the meters, the metering's allowed return, which should be reduced by 2020 to the distribution level. your counter-argument on this issue is that the technological risk is very different compared to the pipelines. And so my question is how much you are confident on the convincing the authority in order to share your view. Thank you.
Okay. On the first question, let me say that it's not an issue to be confident or not confident on the government measures that may take in order to improve the calendar of the tender calendar. The point is that as of today, based on the knowledge that we have, based on the fact that the responsibility is on the shoulder of the municipality, that is our best view about the calendar. And of course, if the government will put in place some incentive in order to accelerate the tenders, that calendar will probably improve. But we have, let me say, put in writing our view based on facts. And the facts are the one that you have on the following pages that show the number awarded, the number that may request the offer before the end of the year or before the end of 2020. Regarding the unlevered beta, we think it's an initial discussion with the authority. We think that is not only, well, the reason is the technological risk. The other element is that you should consider that the smaller and the medium operator, they have not the obligation to change the meters. And the only incentive as of today for them to change the meters is to receive a higher return than not the ones on the network. So if they don't want to have an Italian territory that has a different level of meters, so area where there are the mass meter and therefore the consumption is given to the commercial company on real time, and therefore the billing is correct with no estimation, while other territory where there is the traditional one, according to me, the regulator should maintain the difference to consider not only the technological difference between and technological risk between meters and the remaining part of the network, but also to continue to incentivize also the small and medium operator to change the meters. So we are quite confident that this argument will be taken into the right consideration by the regulator.
Thank you, very clear.
Simply.
Thank you. And there are no further questions at this point. Please continue.
So thank you very much everyone for attending the presentation either here in London or in the conference call, and if you need any follow-up, please refer to the IR department. Thank you everyone.